The next 3 or 4 items on the list have to do with the way Hollywood storytellers use time and how they increase the emotion with the way they make use of time in the story. The first trick, if you will, the first technique is the further into the story you go, the more accelerated the pace should be. Things will just get faster and faster or happen more quickly. And the way that really works, or what it really means, is that the obstacles your hero faces should come closer and closer together as your hero gets closer and closer to the goal. So in a very brief story, that isn't going to make a difference. But if you're, say, weaving a story through an entire keynote, or if you're weaving it through a chapter, or if the whole chapter is about one particular story, let's say, then you have enough time so that initially there's going to be obstacles, but in the setup, those would be sort of just in a stationary way. And then after the crisis, it's a kind of a methodical or deliberate searching of what am I going to do. Then when the process begins, the obstacles will come a little closer together. But if you have enough time to outline, say, 2 or 3 of the steps that your hero takes and more obstacles, make sure as the story moves forward, the obstacles start to get bigger and more difficult and they come closer together. That's going to give it an accelerated pace. When you watch a movie, especially if you watch a romantic comedy, one of the things I've noticed is what I call the race to the wedding. And that means because in a romantic comedy, the 2 lovers, the 2 people who are destined to be together, will always be separated or break up at the end of Act 2. That's at the 3/4 mark, at that major setback. Oh, listen, ice cream is coming by. So, let's just let it go. Maybe you'll go get some ice cream after this item. Okay, so anyway, in a romantic comedy, they're going to be separated or break up at the major setback, at the 3/4 mark. Now, during what is generally I call the final push, it will be a race to find the other person and convince them that they belong together. So it wasn't one of our sample movies, but if you think about 40-Year-Old Virgin, he doesn't know how to drive, so he goes racing on his bike to find the Catherine Keener character. Or oftentimes you'll see this in romantic comedies, or also love stories like Hallmark movies and so on, that, oh no, the person of my dreams is going to get married, and I've got to rush to the altar to stop the wedding before that they're going to marry the wrong person so I can win them back. Okay? I hope you've seen The Graduate at some point. He's running to get to the church all the way from LA up to Berkeley or Oakland so he can stop that. In the examples we used, in the movie Hitch, you'll see that because even though it's fairly stationary when he first tries to declare his love, she wants to leave, and she starts leaving with that guy in her car who we don't know who he is. That's also a curiosity device, by the way. She'll start driving away, then Hitch goes running after, and then they won't stop. So he jumps on the car, and then he gets thrown off the hood. So it's just this simple idea that, man, we better get going or I'm going to lose my chance forever. You see this a bit in a couple of the story examples, the business story examples I use. For one thing, in Darren LaCroix's story about the credit union, that moment when he has to get on stage and he hears his voice in the next room, then he's got to rush to get up on stage. Now, that actually happened. He's telling a true story, but he put the story together in such a way to really emphasize, oh my gosh, I'm going to get there, and so much so that he adds this both big conflict and comedic moment where he knocks over the oxygen tank of the guy who arrived needing oxygen. So there's that kind of race, or that kind of accelerated pace. And in Beat the Bridge, it's the same thing. He's been going along. He's not running fast in the marathon, but then what happens? Right as he's in the final push, he sees the cop cars and then the bus going to the bridge. And now he's got to just turn it on and go as fast as he can in his dilapidated state to get to the bridge before that bus arrives. So again, in real life, I interviewed him about it and it sounded like he really did say that, but in writing the story, I wanted to emphasize, oh my gosh, it looks like it's just imminently going to be there. And so I don't know if it was that imminent when it really happened, but he did certainly in real life see them coming, and he had to get there before they did. So it's still an accelerated pace.